Hello, this is Johnny Cycles, full-time dad, part-time Magic player. Bringing you a deck tech for Keep You Modern Janky deck I've been working on and playing all week. It's called a Rakdos Steel and Sack. The origin of this deck is actually from my Obnexless Commander deck, where I don't actually run a lot of targeted removal, but instead I run things like Twisted Fealty and Bloody Betrayal to steal my opponent's best creatures and then sack them for value, because I play a lot of sack outlets in that deck. Anyway, I've been thinking about this deck for a few months now, and Modern is full of so many powerful creatures. I'm thinking, all right, well, there's a lot of ways to steal things. I wonder if we can build a deck where we just take our opponent's things, attack with them, and then sack them for value. Never got around to it. And then this new mythic from Avatar, Phoenix Fleet Airship, started to crop up in various decks, and I started losing to it. I looked more carefully. I totally whiffed on it in spoiler season. I just chalked it up to another one of those flavorful vehicles that I would never play. Turns out it's really good. I googled it. Aspiring Spike had a mono black deck using it. With Shambling Ghast, I got beat down by an opponent with Shambling Ghast and Phyrexian Tower on getting out two Phoenix Fleet airships on turn two. So I was thinking, all right, well, this could be a really good top end for our Steel and Stack strategy. Steel and Stack has a few, shall I say, obstacles to making it successful. Our creatures are not all that individually powerful. Sure, Ragavan's great, Orcish Bowmasters is great, but they don't represent a fast clock. Um, Two, sometimes your opponents just don't play a lot of creatures, or they play too many creatures. So we really do need a top end, and that's where Phoenix Fleet Airship comes in. So let's take a quick look at the deck. Claim the Firstborn, probably our best steal spell, and certainly the best steal spell in the early game. Can pick off anything from a Johnny to a Frog. In conjunction with Phyrexian Tower, we can then make some mana, flash down Orcish Bowmasters. Ragavan is another way of stealing theoretically stuff, but essentially just a really good threat and a nice little ramp spell. Shambling Ghast, I already mentioned its synergies with Phyrexian Tower. It allows us to play it on turn 1 with a swamp, turn 2 Phyrexian Tower, sack it, get a treasure, sack the treasure, tap all, get the 2 mana from Phyrexian Tower, sacking the creature in a swamp. We get a Phoenix Fleet Airship out, and then we get a second one, our end step. So that's probably our fastest, most aggressive start. A more Collar Zealot, we need another free sack outlet. We could be playing Viscera Seer here, which would allow us to scribe it, and it comes down on turn 1. It's a 1/1. It's a 3/2. It hits harder. It also allows us to take and steal artifacts. So there are some steal spells that let you take artifacts. Hijack for one, and it's in the sideboard of some of the games. I ended up cutting it. But if you are playing against an artifact heavy meta, you might want to have it in the main. It just costs 2 red and a colorless, so that's one reason why I didn't put it in the main. But it allows you to steal your opponent's Phoenix Fleet airships and then sack it. We can also sack our own Phoenix Fleet airship. So what's a really cool synergy with this deck is once we have a bunch of these out, 2 to 4, every turn we can sack one of them on our turn to surveil our opponent's end step. It doesn't matter. Surveil, sculpt our draw, then we get another one because we sacrificed it. So it does combo nicely over Viscera Seer. Village Rites, early versions of the deck had more of these. I really just want draw spells, and this is a really sweet synergy with something like Claim the Firstborn. Let's say we untap on turn 2 and our opponent's played a Ragavan. Well, we can steal it with Claim the Firstborn, attack, and then cast Village Rites to draw some cards, sacrificing that Ragavan. We can also sacrifice the Shambling Ghast. We can sacrifice the Orcish Bowmasters tokens. So yeah, a lot of sweet synergies there, just to keep refilling our hand, make sure we don't run out of gas. Otherwise, we got the Lightning Bolt. I went with these. Again, earlier versions have 4 of each. I trimmed a little bit. Twisted Fealty, the Wicked Roll token, sometimes it matters. It does pump the creature itself, and then it pings their opponent. So that's like 2 extra damage. Bloody Betrayal has some really cool synergies with Phoenix Fleet Airship as well, because we get that blood token. So we can then sacrifice that at our leisure. If we ever have a turn where we don't have something to sack, we can sack the blood token to get some more Phoenix Fleet Airships. Otherwise, the lands, a bunch of fetch lands, 3 Field of Ruins to fight against Eldrazi and Tron, and also to give us another permanent to sacrifice to trigger Phoenix Fleet Airship on our turn. Phyrexian Tower, 4 of. We can get punished for having 4 of these, but it's one of our best sack outlets. And a couple Raucous Theaters and a Castle Locked-Wain. Sideboard it's changed over some of the games. I had 4 Leyline of the Voids in the sideboard. I really like having that as just to fight the unfair graveyard strategies. I got to thinking, we kept losing to the go wide strategies, to decks that could just flood the board with a ton of creatures, whether it be energy, merfolk, affinity. So I wanted to bring in some sweepers, and I was thinking, well, with the graveyard strategies, we kind of want their big creature on the battlefield so that we can steal it, attack, and sack. So then I took those out, borrowed in some Damnation, some Brotherhood's End, some Meltdowns, Affinity, go wide strategies, Damping Sphere to fight against Tron, Eldrazi, and Storm, Cleansing Wildfire to give us another way to fight Tron. We just aren't, we just do not represent a fast enough clock to beat Tron consistently, and oftentimes they don't play things we can target. We really need to steal like a Zealous Conscripts, but that's 5 mana that can steal a Planeswalker to really fight against Tron. I mean, sure, Tron does play creatures, and I have some really sweet videos of taking Emrakul's, and it was so much fun. But they often lean on their Planeswalkers as much as their creatures. And so Flare of Malice gives us some answers against that. But that's why I brought in the Cleansing Wildfire, to help fight against the Tron, to slow them down a little bit. And that's the deck. It's been really fun. Phoenix Fleet Airship, if you haven't seen it in action, is super powerful. Orcish Bowmaster synergizes really well with Phoenix Fleet Airship. If we were able to make 2 the first time we cast it, which is the ideal, we can untap, play Orcish Bowmasters, and have 2 bodies to crew it. The deck has been super fun. It's been very inconsistent, especially with land, and I'm going to post a short video about that. But one thing that I've found really interesting, and even talking about the deck, yeah, it's obvious we want to steal our opponent's creatures and attack with them and then sack them for value, but each game feels like we don't have a game plan other than that, and it feels like you're sort of wandering lost in the woods because you're waiting for your opponent to cast something for you to steal. So every game you're just sort of, well, we're going to set up some sack outlets, we're going to draw some cards. If we have the Phoenix Fleet Airship going, great, we have a direct line to victory. Otherwise, we're just waiting for our opponent to cast something worth stealing and stealing it. And if when our opponents have not cast creatures or have cast too many creatures, or when our opponent casts a bunch of small creatures that don't attack very well but synergize really well in their deck, a lot of times these steal spells are just underwhelming. Still, the deck's been really fun, and we've gotten some really epic wins. We've also gotten some pretty epic losses, so stay tuned for the gameplay. Let me know in the comments what you think. Am I forgetting any steal spells? Any sack outlets that could be better? And as always, this is Johnny Cycles. Thanks for watching. I'll catch y'all in the next one.